Happy Saturday. How's everyone doing today? And it's going to be me to start. Hopefully, once Brandon gets here, he's going to jump on. So, I'll carry the torch for a bit. Today, we're going to talk about the sweet spot for TV budgets. And I think it's going to be great this year because it feels like prices have definitely dropped more to more manageable levels earlier in the year. Because before, I haven't seen the prices drop this quickly so early in the year. We're talking before Black Friday. So we're going to go over that. And of course, design and engineering priorities of each of the TV makers. It's important to get a feel for, hey, what are the TV makers doing in terms of their priorities? Because every TV maker has a personality, they have a theme, and it fits with their principles or their management, their leadership, their brand. And each one is actually pretty unique. You guys have seen it in the reviews, how some TVs do really well in certain things, while other TV makers are stronger in others. So we're going to go over them. If you have any questions, please ask. We're here to answer your questions. So you can get off topic a bit. We talk everything and anything about TVs, home theaters, all that good stuff. So hope you all doing well. It's a warm day in Southern California. How's everyone? What's the weather like where you're at? Let me know. Now, since I'm just running it with both chat and talking to you guys, I may be a little slow to catch your questions, so be patient, just keep on asking. Eventually, I'll find it. And definitely, if you do a super chat, I will make sure to look for you as well. So let's jump right into it real quick. The TV sweet spot. This is it. I think this is where we're at right now. If your budget is between $1,300 and $1,500, I believe you're going to get the best bang for the buck without a doubt. And this is the prices for TVs that I found literally in the last hour on Best Buy. And I should put the link below for you guys real quick so you guys can check it out. But ultimately, so here's an example. So you go on the Best Buy website and you'll see the X90J, for example. It's like, whoa, well, 1,300. Now, it could get lower. So I think by Black Friday, it may even dip closer to 1,000. But definitely, it's no longer 1,600. Remember when it first launched, and we all felt that 1,600 was a bit excessive, given where it's placed in the Sony lineup. Now, it definitely is an improvement over the X900H, no doubt. But at 1,600 at launch, definitely expensive. But at 1,300, it's getting a bit more reasonable and crazier still. The 65-inch X90J is now less expensive than the 65-inch X900H, which is definitely definitely an inferior TV, right? And in this price range, you also have the Hisense U8G, as well as, so the QNED 90 at launch, it's currently $2,000. And many of us feel that it should be maybe a few $100s more than the X90J at best, but definitely not $2,000. So if it's consistent with previous LG LCD TVs, we're hoping it'll drop to 1,500, which would be its sweet spot and makes it the best gaming TV that's not an OLED. But speaking of OLED, if you do want to get an OLED for that 1,500 sweet spot, drop to a 55-inch, and the LG C1 is 1,500. Obviously, by Black Friday, it may drop to 1,400. We'll see. I think it will, because prices look to be pretty aggressive this year. So this is something you guys could think about. If you have any questions about prices, let me know. So let's see what we have here. Who we have here? David Whelan, welcome. Thank you. Hey, Rick. Van, hot and humid in Chicago. I'll be driving through Chicago in a couple of weeks as I drive to Detroit to drop my son off in college. So hopefully it's not too hot and humid in a week or two. Arizona is always hot. Agreed. I used to be in Vegas a lot, and I'm sure it's no different than Vegas. Always 100 degrees or more at 10 p.m., right? And the Z9J. So it's supposed to be releasing literally any minute now. And a lot of countries already have it. So you'll see a lot of Z9J reviews in China and maybe in Europe. And currently, the early impressions are that the Z9J definitely better than last year's Z8H, but it's not like a huge night and day upgrade, right? It's brighter, but if you want it to be accurate, you're still at around 2,000 nits. So you're not at 3 or 4,000 nits, nothing like that. But 2,000 nits is crazy bright, by the way. And more importantly, if you're getting the Z9J, think bright room. This TV is really not for dark room. You're going to have blooming, you're going to have lifted blacks, but it is great for a brighter room where you really want to impress your friends and get the largest Z9J size possible. So you could take advantage of that 8K resolution that they upscale to, because really that's what it's showing off. Let's see here. Hammer says, question, how low do you think the G1 will drop for Black Friday? It will drop easily another $200 on the 65-inch and probably up to $300 on the 77-inch by Black Friday. Now, if it drops that much, it's not going to last for long. So how it works is they're going to lock down a limited number of inventory at that price. And so when it sells out at that price, that's it. Then when the new stock comes in, it'll go back up to whatever price it will resume at after Black Friday. So if you have a target price, keep an eye out. We're going to have a Black Friday special as well. So we'll make sure to keep you guys updated at all times. And if the G1, the A80J, if any of them drop to their what we call the lowest price ever, jump on it, because the next time you'll see that low price is probably closer to the holidays, the Christmas holidays, or even next year, because Black Friday indeed is the lowest price you're going to see for a new TV in 2020, and it will end up being very aggressively priced, maybe even through next spring. So something to think about. So yeah, Black Friday indeed is the best price for probably the next 6 months. Okay, Mustafa, the C10 is now 1,300 or 1,500. Well, in the USA, we don't even have the C10 65-inch. I don't think it's possibly not even available anymore. I couldn't find it at some of the retailers, but the C1 is definitely 1,500 for the 55-inch. And I think the 55-inch C10 is not even available. I couldn't find it anywhere. So, and I think it's a little overpriced actually at this point, considering the C1 in a few months will probably drop below 2,000. Might as well just wait for the C1. Because as the C1 drops in price, the C10 becomes less compelling to me, because the C1 definitely is an improvement in many fronts. And CMS, I feel you, man. Hopefully when my son goes to college, it'll be free, or hopefully he gets a scholarship, right? But definitely go for the free tuition, better than the highly ranked schools. So I had to go through that. Should he go to the quote unquote better ranked school or the one that's offering him money? Go with the one that offers him money. That's what I say. Hey, you have a lot to go. She's only 3, so what, another 15 years? I won't have to worry about that. And what is this? 8K is P as in pneumonia. I couldn't agree more. I think many of us have come to the conclusion that the 8K in and of itself doesn't help anything. But keep in mind that oftentimes the 8K TV gets the better technology. Not because it's 8K, but because it's simply the higher flagship. So it's going to get better processing, better audio. And then ultimately it looks and sounds better because it's getting the better tech, which is kind of disappointing. Because if it was in 4K, it would look even better than the 8K, right? Hey, greetings, Dirk-Jan from the USA. I'm glad you're up in Holland. A80J. So they're aggressively pricing the A80J right now. So wherever the C1 is, track it to be about 100 to 150 above the C1. That's where I think Sony wants, where Sony wants to be. So keep that in mind. Hey, Amanda, always good to see you. Hey, Classy, you doing your driving all over town right now? Oh, you're getting the X85J. All right. So definitely let us know. I'm really glad that you're checking that out, because I was really impressed by the VA panel of the X80J, but it was only 50 inches, right? So the X85J will have that same VA panel in the larger sizes and with 4K 120 hertz. Let's see how it does as a gaming without full array local dimming, because there's an argument out there that, you know, maybe blooming is not worth the trouble. And X85J will not bloom because it's got no dimming zones. So in a slightly brighter room, does it make up the difference where, you know, might as well save a few bucks and skip the X90J and go straight down the X85J? Does it make a difference? Hey, Michael, wait until Black Friday for the A80J. I'm with you. A lot of us are definitely waiting for the A80J on Black Friday. Yeah, It's crazy. It's not just the A8H, Aldev. Thanks for that observation. A lot of the 2020 TVs are way more expensive than they should be. The X900H is one. The X950H is way too expensive right now. And Samsung, the Q80T, way too expensive. So I don't know what they're thinking. If they want to get rid of these TVs, they got to start pricing them down. Otherwise, the 2021 models will be priced below them shortly. So I don't get it either. Hey, Andy, good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for coming by. Hey, Bat Tech. Doesn't seem QNet is really taking off for LG at the current pricing. No, it's not. That's why I'm targeting 1500. And like the NanoCell, LG starts off high. Next thing you know, it's like 25% off and only 6 months into it. So I'm hoping they're doing the same thing. And this is mostly because LG is vertically integrated with the IPS panel that they've developed for themselves anyway, right? So with their margins being what they are, I think they could aggressively take the prices down sooner rather than later. And once it hits around 1500, definitely a good gaming alternative for those who really don't want to go OLED for whatever reason, right? You want to try non-OLED gaming, and it is cheaper. At 1500, you're not going to find an OLED gaming TV that's 65 inches at 1500. It'll still be around 2000 if you're looking at the LG C1. And it's bright enough. It is slightly brighter than the X90J. So you have that. And regardless of the issues that we talked about, we're really being nitpicky here, because in speaking with Classy, we're pretty much both in agreement that the QNED 90 is a pretty good TV. It's just not for 2000. And at 1500, that is a good price. Hey, Spillage, what do I think that 8K TVs have to do to make themselves more attractive? It's the price, right? So let's look at the LG, the TCL 8K 6 series. It's at 2200. And yes, it looks great, but in 4K, it would look just as good. And that's the thing that people don't understand. All the local dimming improvements, everything that Caleb mentioned in the Digital Trends review of the 8K TCL 6 series, it's not because this 8K looks phenomenal. They took everything that they have improved for that TV and applied it to last year's 4K panel with nothing else changed other than 4K. It would look exactly the same, if not brighter. And so the 8K, what they have to do is we have to wait for the 8K panels to drop in price. Eventually they will. China is definitely stepping up their 8K panel production in order to lower the price. Once the 8K VA panels start dropping in price to be equivalent to the 4K panels, that's when they become attractive. And I think we're doing a great job of educating you guys, like, hey, don't demand 8K. I mean, it's out of our control, really. Like, look at TCL, right? The budget value leader. Suddenly, they bring out a TCL 6 series, but because it's 8K, it's over $2,000. It's, what, 600? Right here, right? The 65-inch X90J. It is $900 more expensive than the X90J. $900 more. It is not worth $900 more. And that's the problem. Until that TCL R635 or R648, 8K significantly drops in price. And this is what Sony and Hisense and LG sees, right? They're like, wait a minute, TCL, wow, they're at 2200. We could really undercut them by dropping our mid-tier TVs below theirs. And so that's something that TCL is going to have to grapple with next year. Hey, Amanda, Labor Day deals will be pushing out 2020 models. So if you are looking for a Labor Day buy, look at last year's models. I think that's when they're going to try to drop 2020 models down. LG C10, A8H, stuff they want to get rid of from 2020, they'll push out on Labor Day, right? Because Black Friday is when they're going to hit the 2021 deals. So they don't want to start that too early on Labor Day. So if it's 2021 model, unlikely to have any discounts on Labor Day. But if they do, we'll let you know for sure. Hey, Michael. So the dual cell will be out in September. And, well, we'll see. I hear that there's not a lot of them out there. Inventory is restrained, even for reviewers. And so we'll see what the early reviews show for the dual cell. We expect it to be better in terms of darkroom performance, but is 1000 nits bright enough for peak brightness? And how small is that window for peak brightness, right? Can it get to 1000 nits under 1% window? That's the question. Yes, Andy, we expect the larger sizes to come out this week. So if you're waiting for the 65-inch, it is not coming out this week, but the 75 and or 85 is coming out this week, and it should be both of them. So we'll see, though. It's all promises, right? But at the end, even the retailers like Valley Electronics, Robert's being promised delivery and certain allocations, and he's being pushed back as well. So it's another it's what it is this year. You know, what can you do? It's a symptom of the constraints we have. A90J or LG Evo. So the A90J uses the Evo panel. Two different use cases. If you're just watching content, gaming is not important, A90J all day long. If gaming is even a little important, then you have to go with the LG C1 or G1 simply because it has all the gaming features enabled, and specifically and most difficult 4K 120, Dolby Vision, and VRR, right? Those various features no one else is implementing other than the LG Evo OLED, whether it's the C1 or the G1. They have 4K 120 working great. They have 4K 120 Dolby Vision enabled, and their VRR is working very well up to 4K 120. The same cannot be said of any other brand. Samsung arguably has 4K 120 and VRR, but they don't have Dolby Vision gaming. So that leaves LG Evo as the top dog in gaming. So if gaming is important, Evo. But if you're looking at movies, watching HDR content, A90J all day long. And I also like the A90J because now that they released the audio system, the HTA9 4-speaker system from Sony, it's going to integrate really well because you don't need a soundbar. It will take the A90J's entire TV panel, turn it into your center channel, and then add the 4 speakers around you and create that entire, I think, 12 speaker system, including overhead reflections. So if your ceilings are around 8 or 9 feet, that could be a great system. Now, it is not cheap. It's around 16 to 1700, but most soundbars in the premium end cost that much. So for movie watching, I definitely go with the A90J. And let's see here. CMS, you're saying Vincent was showing how Flight Simulator blew out the whites on the OLEDs. Okay, so this is another mismatch with the source and the TV. Eventually, all of this stuff will be fixed, just like they always do. So the games themselves, the source, well, the TV and the source doesn't always match, right? So Flight Simulator, if it's running off of a PC, whatever you calibrate on the PC is not matching to the OLED. And it's this mismatch, and this is why FreeSync Premium Pro is supposed to be so important. So for example, if Flight Simulator is FreeSync Premium Pro enabled, I don't know if it is, but let's say it is, and you have an AMD GPU and you run it through Samsung's FreeSync Premium Pro TV, like the QN90A, it shouldn't blow out the whites then, because now the AMD GPU is directly controlling the peak brightness of the TV. Now, whether that's possible, we don't know, because I don't know if Flight Simulator is FreeSync Premium Pro enabled or not. But if it is, that probably wouldn't happen. And that's one of the things. And this is why you have G-Sync Ultimate and FreeSync Premium Pro. It's to avoid blowing out the whites, because it takes the peak brightness control out of the TV's hands and directly into the GPU and the game developer. They are now directly mapping, tone mapping to your TV. So until other brands and models like LG adopts FreeSync Premium Pro, you're probably going to see blowouts like this more frequently. Edge Lit TVs, well, it's a budget TV, so I'm never going to choose Edge Lit TVs over a backlit or direct lit TV. So backlit full array local dimming is the best, right? If you have enough, you're going to have great deep blacks. And once you go to OLED, though, Edge Lit TVs are just there's just too much lifted black, so can't do that. And hey, JMac, A8H is $2,500, not bad. In Canada, $2,000 in the US. So 2000, well, the LG C10 is around 1850 about a month ago. So there's still a ways to go to catch up to the LG, but 2500 is a bit, yeah, definitely too expensive. If that's Canadian, I don't know how to convert that, but yeah, that feels a bit high. Oh, there you go. So 7585 is at the retailer. So anyone who's looking for this price, ABT appears to have it available. And also Value Electronics, if you don't need them to calibrate or do quality control, they will have it shipped directly to you from a local distributor. So if it's at the distributors right now, call Value Electronics and they'll just get you lined up and sent the TVs. And the great thing about the Sony TVs this year is you don't really need calibration, right? So 7585, if you're willing to risk the quality control, which Sony appears to be doing well anyway, call Valve Electronics, and if there's any allocation in your area, they'll have you sent a TV. Next year's LG C10 model with a heatsink versus Samsung QD OLED. Which would I pick? Well, I got to go with the heatsink and a proven OLED TV, which is the LG's Evo TV. I know gaming is going to work. I know all that's going to work. Samsung QD OLED, it's first generation, and we know how first generations go, right? It's fun to look at. I can't imagine it's even close to peaking what its potential is. And so that's what kills me. I'll be paying a premium for what I feel is like, oh man, I know you're missing. In 2 years, it'll be better. And so that's something that I don't recommend anyone buy QD OLED next year just because it's a first iteration. I mean, it's like literally the first OLED from 2015, 2014. Look at where we are now compared to 6 years ago. And that's where QD OLED is, right? So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm going to jump into real quick the priorities of TV brands. Thank you for that question. Just kind of keep the topics moving along for you guys, and I'll catch up with any further questions you have. And, oh, wait, let me get to the super chat real quick. You're welcome, CMS, and we appreciate you being here. Okay, so where we're at, priorities of TV brands. We're going to talk about Vizio, Sony, LG, Samsung, TCL, and Hisense. Now, these are generalities, right? So obviously, there are always exceptions. However, I think it's pretty consistent, though. So if you guys see any exceptions, call me out in the comments below, and we'll see how much of an exception that is. So let's start with Vizio. This is their priority. Price, price, price. They are trying to be the value leader. They were founded on price, right? They started selling exclusively in Costco because of price. Now, the price is still there. The problem is their margins are so thin. They cannot reduce their price any further. They literally cannot compete with TCL because TCL has better margins. They're vertically integrated. So now Vizio is making money off of SmartCast. So when you see SmartCast on all those ads, you're helping subsidize Vizio's price. So if their TVs is selling at break even, SmartCast is where they make their money. And features. Vizio wants to be known as feature-filled for the price. So if you get a Vizio for $600, they're going to say, we have more local dimming zones at $600 than anybody else. We have VRR. No one else has VRR at $600, right? They're going to list all these things. The problem is half the times they do not work well. So let's say gaming, right? They have these gaming features they've been promoting since last year, and it's been a terrible experience for many people. But technically, the features are out there. Same with the local dimming zone. They had more local dimming zones than anybody else for the price to start, but it was not so good. The blooming was still out of control. Sometimes the dimming zones didn't catch up and were delayed, and so you had ghosting. So just because the features are there, what Vizio ends up doing is checkboxing, right? We have the most checkboxes, and our SmartCast is paying for the bill, but the SmartCast has been a terrible experience for most people. And I know it is Caleb's least favorite feature on a Vizio. We talked about that. He's like, yeah, if it only was a SmartCast, the problem is if they take away SmartCast, the TV has zero revenue for Vizio. They can't take away SmartCast, right? You're saying, well, why doesn't Vizio use Google TV or Roku? They simply can't. SmartCast makes so much money for them. So why would you buy Vizio? If it's hugely discounted and the features begin to work, now the price makes sense, but with the money you save, I would still get a Geek Squad extended warranty because they cut way too many corners in terms of quality control and a lot of the parts inside. But that's what it is. That's where Vizio is right now. And if you understand that, you won't be disappointed. All right, Sony. I think we have a constant this year in Sony. Their movie experience, their focus is on your movie experience, whether you're watching movies via a streamer or internal app, or you're plugging in a Blu-ray player, it doesn't matter. Sony, I can see, is really tuning everything for movies. Their motion is for best movie 24p or 30, right? Whatever it is that the movies are at, they want to make sure they tune their TV, their color. They focus on out of the box color, which is pretty impressive. It's not easy to do. And we're not talking about the Master Series, right? They've already made that assurance that the Master Series will have the best color. But for me to find similar accurate colors out of the box from the X80J, their entry level TV, and it's not just me. A lot of people with the X80J are saying the same thing. It out of the box, it looks really good. Don't need a calibrator, because calibration adds at least another $250 to $500 to the price of the TV. So that's something to think about. You really don't have to worry about color and motion when you're watching content straight up. And this year, with their upgrade and addition audio, I think it's a complete package. Now, when I say lifestyle, they're trying to fit that lifestyle theme, but it's not quite there. They're seeing what Samsung's doing, but the conveniences of their lifestyle TV, it falls short of Samsung. But I see where they're going. But their plug and play HTA9, I'm pretty excited about. So I told Robert, hey, the minute's out there. Put me on the pre-order list. Get it to me. I need to check it out. I want to see how good this is, because ultimately, for me, I don't know about the rest of you, but I do not like sound bars because it's so hard to place, right? If you put it under the TV, it might not fit because the feet is in such a position depending on the soundbar you choose. And if you hang it on a wall, it definitely looks awkward to put a box under the TV. You want it slick. And so you have the 6-inch block sticking out, so or you dig a hole in your drywall to stick it in. Either way, it's not smooth. And so if you guys look into the HTA9, that thing is just 4 speakers. You put anywhere you want, generally in the 4 corners around you, you're done. I thought that's genius. I was hoping Samsung figured that out, and they did it. They still require a sound bar. But eventually, I guarantee that both LG and Samsung will see what Sony just did. They're going to do it too, because it's so obvious. It's so much more convenient. So let's jump in some questions real quick. Got bad news, huh, Lance? Went to his local Nebraska Furniture Mart store. The X95J in any size won't hit the shelf until mid-October, early November. Oh no, so ABT has an unboxing. Is it possible that ABT just got a demo model for themselves? We'll check with Robert. Ask Nebraska Furniture Mart if they can order direct from the distributor, because if Nebraska is selling to you from their own inventory, you may be right. Ask Nebraska if they have access to the distributor to ship it to you direct. That may be a way to get it early, because I know that's what Valley Electronic does. And by the way, I'll be driving through Nebraska. I'll be staying in Lincoln, I think, on my way to Detroit. So first time in Nebraska. Hoping to have good steak. I think, yeah, it is. I think I am driving through Lincoln on my way over there. All right. Hey, Van, ABT puts Best Buy to shame. I bought a stovetop from ABT. It was a great experience because they're the only one that carried the Bosch magnetic stovetop, right? And so that's why I chose it. But other than that, why do you feel that ABT puts Best Buy to shame? Let me know. I did enjoy their service. I got extended warranty. They were very easy to deal with. They shipped it literally within 72 hours and I got it. So I had a good experience, but I never thought that ABT puts Best Buy to shame, only because I haven't seen Best Buy do too much wrong. So yeah, definitely let me know. Hey, keep it classy. Buying a Samsung Galaxy Book Flex Alpha laptop with a 600 nit QLED display to start offering calibration service. Wow. Hey, keep it. I'd be curious about that laptop. Let me know if that laptop color accuracy is anywhere close to what you're getting from your TVs. I'd be curious. And I agree with CMS. 1,000 nits is more than acceptable for most people, unless you have bright glare and you need 2,000 nits to overcome the glare. And you'll be surprised. Not many people have that bad of a glare. I've seen it, but it's not commonplace. All right, Bill, welcome. Hey, thanks for the super chat. Yes, Michael, I'm very excited about the shootout in September. So what I'm planning with Shauna, Techno Dad, and Classy, will be there, as well as Brian, Whisper Status, and Brandon, right? Be the Star are going to be there. We're going to try to do a live stream Whisper session, right? Where we're kind of talking in the background. So I believe Shane Spare Change will be doing the live stream itself as far as the actual calibrations and the judging and discussions are concerned, we'll be in the background, kind of like talking and making snide comments. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know, because oftentimes at these shootouts, there's a lot of dead silence. So what we want to do is kind of have just, have a couple of beers in us before we start talking, and then maybe say things we might regret. So if you guys are interested in hearing an audio live stream to run concurrently with the real shootout live stream, because it will run live the whole time, so it might end up being a 6-hour live stream, we'll be there as well doing our audio. So if you're interested, let us know and we'll run that out as well. So I'll set that up too. And we got caught up on the comments real quick. All right, Van, you're still on the fence TV-wise. Been there a couple of times lately. Might need them to do so. Probably can't fit an 83-inch 85. Delivery, my friend. White glove delivery, right? That's all you could ask for. And obviously, that's always appreciated. ABT Appliance came out and did a fantastic job with your washing machine during COVID. Agreed. Anyone that can find a way to work that well with COVID, that is something to be impressed by. A lot of companies just gave up altogether on deliveries at all. They just dropped it off and ran away, right? You have to carry in your own appliance. Not happening. So yeah, that's good then. Hey, Mustafa, you wish Vizio go worldwide. So I don't know if you actually want to wish that. The problem is Vizio cannot compete with the other brands worldwide. Specifically, if they went worldwide, they would be competing with Xiaomi. I don't know if they could beat Xiaomi on price, honestly. And Xiaomi's been pretty impressive as far as their features. So Vizio knows where their goodwill is. Their branding cachet almost is in the USA. They've spent the last 10 years building their brand in the USA. Anywhere else in the world, no one would know Vizio. They would choose something like a Xiaomi or one of the various random generic TV brands out in the rest of the world. So yeah, I don't think Vizio has much of a choice. They're kind of stuck in North America. Hey, EP. I kind of thought I did a review of my A90J, so if there's something that I'm missing from the A90J review, let me know. But I will do an overall review as once I get the X95J in, if I get one in, hopefully before the year, I will definitely do a catch-up review giving context for all the TVs I've seen this year. How many people get their TVs calibrated, Michael? Not a lot, but enough to keep the calibrators in business, right, Classy? That's the hope. Hey, Hammer, good comment. A good pair of bookshelf speakers on stands will sound better than pretty much any sound bars. So this is why I think the HT-A9 is a total game changer. These are 4 bookshelf speakers. They agree with you. They don't think a sound bar is going to help at all. So that's why it's so expensive. You're buying 4 active sound bars held together by DSP. That's why I think it's promising. Now, I don't know if it actually will sound good, but if these are 4 bookshelf speakers powered with DSP to make sure that all the reflections are controlled and they create good phantom speakers, that's exactly where they're going. So yeah, I agree with you. Normally, a pair of bookshelves will beat out any sound bar, especially if you pair it with a good subwoofer. And normally that would have been my recommendation, because that sense of scale comes from volume. And a lot of sound bars, you can't handle the volume. I mean, I'm sorry, 3 to 4 inch drivers will not match a true bookshelf speaker that's built and designed to handle the SPLs. Hey, Mustafa, you don't think the upscaling on a C1, you don't think it's good at all? Interesting. You may be one of the first to comment on that. So let's see, you have a set-top box. I'm assuming is it a cable box? And what is it you're upscaling? Is it 720? That could be an issue, right? 720i, I think, is a challenge for a lot of TVs. So, and this is why I recommend Sony's. Generally, Sony's do well in upscaling across all sources, not just 1080p source or 720p, but also the weird cable sources. So let us know, what is the resolution you're upscaling? Hey, Princeton, so your guess is X95J, August 16. Well, remember, so in Nebraska, he's being told October. So maybe it's a regional specific thing, right? I mean, I hate to be in Nebraska. It's bad enough, right? But now you're getting screwed on release dates too. So that would suck. All right. So, and before we jump on, hey, how's the home theater build progressing? Well, I'm waiting for a team to come by sometime next week and start installing my ceiling speakers. And once I have that up, I'll start connecting everything. Then I have to build out my cabinets so that I can stick everything into the cabinets and run everything seamlessly to all the speakers. So I hope to have it by the end of August. Everything should be up and running. And let me tell you, the the subwoofer that came in last week was so much larger than I expected. Like we're talking really large. They're the JTR 4000s, and it's a pair of 18-inch drivers next to each other. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the size of a table. It goes up to like my chest practically. I'm like, oh man. And I think it's like 200 pounds. So yeah, there won't be a lot of pushing around. I'll tell you that right now. Hey, keep it classy. So he can make it, but he won't be here until after his kid's game. So he'll be here shortly. So I'm kind of running the show until he gets here. And speaking of, let's jump to the next brand. We talked about Sony, right? And their priorities, LG's priorities. So I really do like LG and their priority. And this is why. First, they have focused on one sector that is so difficult to get right, and that's gaming. And when we say gaming, it's very generic. Specifically, technologies like VRR, 4K 120, HDR, FreeSync, everything that has to work together all at once at a high performance level. And this is very difficult to do. And LG managed to do it. I'm just impressed. And so, but that also takes resources, right? So all of that put together, LG is known for the gaming TVs. So that's why if you're a gamer, more often than not, we end up recommending LG because they put in the necessary time and money to get it right. And it's a done deal, right? They are like the gaming TV company du jour right now. The alternative, the closest, maybe Samsung QN90A, maybe QN85A. They definitely improved as of last year, but still no Dolby Vision gaming. So they do fall short a little bit. I expect more out of Samsung even next year, so that should be great. And also, I'm very impressed that LG continues to push the envelope of OLED technology. So the Evo panel this year, and many people are saying, wait, it's just like last year. And essentially, image quality-wise, it actually is. What they've improved is really for their own production efficiency. It costs them less to make an OLED TV with the Evo panel than it did with the older panel, despite having very similar image quality. So saving money, higher efficiency, and the image quality did not drop. That actually is difficult, right? And anywhere else, when you improve production and you create efficiencies, oftentimes the product itself takes a step back. Now, we do have two things that did pop up that did not pop up before. That's the pink tint, and the grids or the Venetian blinds are a bit more visible, but many people say that's because it's slightly brighter, and you're getting that, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But LG also improved its video processing, namely its motion is better, and its color processing near black specifically is better. Matter of fact, arguably better than Sony. So I am impressed by LG's focus on technology, but as you can see, lifestyle, audio, it's got to give up somewhere, right? So know what you're getting. So with LG, yeah, they have a sound bar, but it's not as well integrated as the other two brands, Samsung and Sony. Now they do have WISA. That's unique to LG, I believe, the WISA. But then Sony's saying, we don't need WISA, we're going to develop our own. And that's interesting because if Sony's approach takes off, I think that could put the nail in the coffin of the Wi-Fi audio technology, the WISA, that never had a chance to get off the ground. What do you guys think? Anyone a WISA fan? You guys think that Sony could do a better job than WISA? It could. All right, let's jump to Samsung's approach. And I think Samsung is the most polished as a TV itself. We're talking the high end first, right? They do such a great job with lifestyle design and the features in Tizen. Picture in picture is back. And this whole, hey, you could do your work. It's a productivity TV. You could go to the gym. It could all stream in. Everything is very smooth. They developed all this software in-house. That's nearly impossible to do. You can't, most companies cannot do that. Sony cannot do that. That's why they don't do it, right? They're just going to give Google, hey, Google TV, anything you do, we'll incorporate it, but we're not going to spend a dime on this. It's too hard. SmartCast, no way. WebOS, no way. Samsung did it, but this is why they're so expensive. They're amortizing the cost of this investment across all their TVs. So every TV with Tizen is absorbing the cost it took to invest in these features. So, but as a result, Tizen is great. And then you have lifestyle models like the Zero, right, the vertical TV, like the Frame. So Samsung really knows its audience. Its audience wants a hip TV. Okay, picture quality, good enough for that aspirational crowd. And I'm impressed that even despite its focus on design and lifestyle, it got gaming up and running. It fixed VRR, which was not great the last few years. This year, it's fixed, and they doubled down with FreeSync Premium Pro and their audio with Q Symphony, similar to Sony, except you need a soundbar, but they are the only other TV maker to integrate the entire TV audio with the soundbar system as well. And then Samsung goes out and develops HDR10 Plus. No one asked them to, they just wanted to do it. So, Samsung, I think, has way too much money in their hands, but hey, they are probably the most well-funded company of all TV brands out there. We're talking Sony, LG, Panasonic, I don't care who it is. You have to remember, Samsung is a giant conglomerate. They have a chip foundry. They make memory. They make storage. They make audio. They own Harman, right? They went out and bought Harman. So they would have an awesome audio research center. So Harman, down here in Northridge, owned by Samsung. They own JBL. So these guys are huge. In a matter of years, they are going to take on Sony as an audio company. You don't see it yet, but it's coming because they own all of these brands. So it's something to think about. So yeah, I can see why Samsung is so popular. They do a great job of identifying themselves with the aspirational crowd. Caught up on some of these comments here. But thank you everyone for coming by. Hey Jay, you finally got your G1 fully calibrated from Valley Electronics, and Vivid Mode looks the best. Are these video modes just preference? Absolutely, Jay. They are suggestions for you to try out. And if you're in a bright room, Vivid Mode might be the only one that works for you. I have tried them all, and I actually switch between modes depending on my content, right? In some modes, in some streaming content, in some documentaries, Vivid looks better. Like you might be watching tennis and prefer Vivid watching tennis than movie mode or even sports mode, right? Sports mode and Vivid mode is often very similar. The only difference being its motion. So you put it in Vivid, play with the motion, and boom. Or some Netflix content may look better in Vivid. It just depends. Like Pixar animation may look better in Vivid in some content. But keep in mind that Vivid, though, you will lose color accuracy or color volume. They're going to emphasize some colors and make other colors disappear altogether. But again, if you don't notice it, no big deal, right? Oftentimes when your eyes are used to the most accurate mode, then you don't go back. But for others, like, forget accuracy. I want punchy. I only have 10 minutes to watch the TV. Impress me, right? So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. All right, Mustafa, great question. What's next for OLED? Higher refresh rate, maybe? Gaming monitors? What do I think? So you have two OLED technologies currently available. The RGB DirectView OLED, which LG just released a monitor version of that, and Samsung has been using that for all of their small devices, right? The small little tablets are using DirectView RGB. That will give you richer color saturation, higher color volume, but burn-in is an even greater risk than LGW OLED. So LGW OLED will not ever look as good as RGB DirectView OLED, but it's okay. It's close enough. Where are all OLEDs going? So OLED in general is going to start going down in price because of all the production and manufacturing expanding into the Chinese companies. They're starting to produce RGB OLEDs like BOE and CSOT. They're starting to produce OLED as well. So as prices go down, they will be released at lower prices, but they're not high performance OLEDs. Higher refresh rate OLED is a higher performance OLED. Whether LG W OLED will do that for gaming monitors or TVs, I don't think so. I think the niche case, that edge case that requires 240 refresh rate, there's too few. They cannot sell that in volume, I don't believe. It's not worth the investment. 120 hertz, good enough. And at a large size, because normally when they make OLEDs, right, they make all different sizes, 48-inch, 55, 65, and so forth. That many sizes at a higher refresh rate may be too cost prohibitive for the return. Heck, if people are buying 60 hertz, just sell them 60 hertz, right? Gaming monitors, yes, but they will be very expensive to start. So I would not hold my breath for an OLED gaming monitor anytime soon, but eventually you'll get it. But I don't know if it's going to be higher than 120 hertz though. So that's something to keep in mind. Evo seems to have issues. I think the issues though are probably a little bit of the DSC. I don't know of any other issues. So can you be a little specific in what you're talking about in terms of issues? Ah, yes. Here we go. This is something that's been out there. It's been making the rounds. LG is dealing with Black Crush. Sony handles it better. So this is the argument. Many believe that Sony is now too lifted, right? Sony doesn't crush, but it's going the other way, right? It's like that pendulum, right? You're swinging Black Crush or you're swinging lifted blacks. Sony decided to swing to lifted blacks and is being killed for it. Well, when I say killed, I'm being extreme. It looks great. In a bright room, they will look identical. They will both look black. But in a pitch dark room, right? It's pitch black. The Sony will have slightly lifted blacks near black, right? At near black, where the black, its actual black is black, but the near black gray is a bit more lifted than LG. And that's what we're talking about. The deep blacks that should be black, zero, right, is zero. Both Sony and LG has that. When you go to near black, the Sony is a little lifted and the LG is accurate. And that's the conclusion right now. And Sony's fine with that. And I think for most people, when I say most, 99.9% of the population will not notice that near black difference. We're talking about that 1% above, less than 1% above black, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, Classy. I think that's where the discussion is. So imagine that you have all these people arguing, and I think it overemphasizes the importance of this because people don't watch TV in a pitch black room. And even if they did, there's so few content where this near black issue is an issue. Maybe Game of Thrones last season, episode 3, maybe that's where it's at. But that's about it. So let me know your thoughts. Do you want perfection? Because LG is closer to reference perfection, the near black, than Sony. And that's where we're at right now. Hey, Michael, yeah, the Venetian blind effect and the grid, it went away after hours. Oh, you're talking about your Vizio Oled. Yeah, and that's one of the things that Classy and Intuition has mentioned before. If you're in pixel refresh, run it for a while, that eliminates or mitigates it for many people. Oh, maybe I did miss your super chat, Andy. Thank you for the reminder. ABT is pronounced apt, as in Jack. Okay, let me rush up here. Thanks. Yeah, and guys, if I missed your super chat, don't have to super chat again to get my attention. Oh, there it is. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, let me know if I missed your super chat, please, because the way this is running, it skips all the way to the most current one, and sometimes it's out of my view of the super chats. So, all right, Andy, here we go. Bought my A90J from ABT, and they put BB to shame. The service is top-notch, and they installed mine perfectly and handled it as you would expect. They are so popular and expanding like crazy. So I've only had one experience with ABT, and I agree, my one experience was actually pretty good. Now, with Best Buy, I do have to package it with installation when I do it. So normally, I don't have Best Buy just drop it off because I have it hanging on a wall. So I throw in the extra $50 that costs me because I'm on their, they call it a tech support program, their annual tech thing. And you pay annually, but then all of their installations are discounted, and I have a lot of installations, right? So for an extra $50, they'll then install my TV, mount it, take the older TV off, and then mount the old TV on the stand. So for $50 for me, that's totally worth it. But yeah, you're right. You'll actually have to pay Best Buy for that additional service. But you know what? I'm going to definitely explore from ABT moving forward. That's a good point. So I should keep that up too. Keep It Classy predicts the G1 being a surprise at the shootout. That's a good prediction. I'm hearing a lot of good things about the G1. The question is, will it beat the A90J? And maybe that near black shortcoming of the Sony, that could be the Sony's kryptonite. Maybe it will lose because of that. I don't know, but I think that's where it's going to end up being, right? Because we're going to have actual color graders from the production companies there, maybe HBO, right? These are people that know exactly what their near black grays should be. So when I'm there, Classy and I will definitely talk to them and say, hey, what are this near black issue? What are these little things that we're talking about? Do you see it in your reference monitor? So that'd be interesting to find out. What is my experience with the TCL 8K TV? So it is so new this year, not much experience, but as we get it out, we'll see. And I will get the 8K 6 series once it drops in price. I mean, technically I could get it now for $2,200, but I cannot get myself to pay the premium because I see the QN90A for the same price and it kills me to pay that much for a TCL 6 series, right? Now, if this was maybe the OD0 that was 2200, their premium flagship 8K, and it was offered the 65-inch, and it had its whatever thousands of dimming zones, right? Then yes, I would pay over 2,000 for that, but not for the 6 series. 65-inch has less than 200 dimming zones. Sorry, I cannot pay for any TV. That's like even the X95J isn't that expensive, and 8K brings nothing to the table at the 65-inch size. Hey, David, you're looking at the A80J 77-inch only for movies, streaming, and TV. Just saw the G10 77 for 2,700. What would I recommend? Well, the A80J is so new. It's not going to be 2,700. That is an excellent price, actually. So the A80J out of the box is going to be pretty much color accurate. What do I recommend? I wait for Black Friday and see if that 77-inch can get to 3,000, because with the G10 77-inch, I would get it calibrated. That raises its price to just above 3,000. Now they're close. So why don't we wait for Black Friday? Because the G10 at 77-inch will probably still be around and may get further discounts. At worst, it's the same. And you might have a choice then. But I think the A80J is different enough for movies and streaming that it's worth it. And here's the one for me. If you plan to add a better audio system, the A80J is uniquely positioned to integrate the HTA9. I know I sound like a total shill, right? I'm not being sponsored by them, but I'm just so impressed by the HTA9. 4 speakers, each one has a microphone with DSP, and you don't have to make them ear level. I mean, I'm like, what? You could put 4 speakers at different heights as long as they are generally in 4 corners of your room. Doesn't matter what the heights are, right? They're going to figure it out. I'm like, okay, that to me is awesome. And it integrates with the A80J, allowing the A80J to serve as a center channel speaker, which is what I want as well. And so I want the A80J so I can do that. For me, that is worth the upgrade path. So if you're looking for a full home theater system, wait, save some money, get it either Black Friday or the holidays, the A80J 77-inch. Now, if there's any gaming though, any gaming at all, then of course the G10 77-inch will get you there, and you can get it right now. But for me, I would get the A80J. Hold on, wait a bit. I think without calibration, and the G10 77-inch does need calibration, as I think the 10 series last year, they were a bit hot oftentimes, or they either ran too bright or too cool in certain situations, and you need a calibrator to really get you there. It ends up being very close in price. So just something to keep in mind. Oh, and also the 77-inch 10 series last year, they tended to have some DSC issues, right? Banding, vertical banding. Whereas this year, the A80J 77-inch, we're not seeing that many incidents of DSC. So that's something to think about as well. Let's go. So if I missed your questions, keep on asking. I apologize. Trying to scroll down, trying to catch y'all here. Okay, Lynn. Couldn't wait for Black Friday. You had to make the move now. Got yourself an A90J at Magnolia. Congratulations. That's Best Buy's high-end division. You worked with a designer for the last 15 years. Wow, it took you 15 years to make the decision. I love it. 45-day return and price adjustment. Yes, that's awesome. Will Master Series discount much on Black Friday? I don't suspect it will. If history serves, in the past, Master Series, a couple $100 here and there, but the first year, very little movement. So if you're getting the A90J and you're getting at a discount, this is about as inexpensive as you're going to get it for the next 6 months or so. I mean, Black Friday, maybe a couple $100. Maybe they throw in something, right? But yeah, the A90J is going to be a premium price for a while, I believe. And here it is, that Q90R and Q90T still get lots of firmware updates. They support their TVs for a while. Samsung, I did see some updates. Now, we're still waiting for the eARC, and a lot of people hammer them on that. But honestly, I don't use eARC enough to make a big deal. It's just they shouldn't have promised it. Honestly, I don't think it affects your day-to-day if Q90R doesn't get eARC. And I had the 900 TS, and its eARC didn't even work that well. I had a lot of dropouts. But then that's why they need firmware updates, right? Hopefully, one of these updates will fix the eARC dropouts I had. So I could not get Dolby True HD with lossless without dropouts while watching Netflix. And okay, Robert, great question. You're looking for an 80-inch plus range. Can't afford the A90J, $8,000. Second best option, well, OLED, LG, C1 83-inch. That is the only other OLED in the 80-inch plus range. And of course, the QN90A is definitely less expensive. So that's another option as well. That's 85 inches. It's a 4K TV. It's not an OLED. So for me, if you're in the $5,000 range, right, between, I think, let's say $5,500. At the $5,500 range, the LG C1 83-inch is right there. And definitely less than that, you have the Samsung Q90A, which will get you some of the gaming features of the LG, but it doesn't have Dolby Vision. So if you need Dolby Vision, the best option in the 80 plus range for me would be the LG C1 83-inch. Let me know if that 5,000, a little over 5,000 price range is in your within your consideration. And there you go. Thank you for the super chat reminder there. And no, we don't want and technically lifted blacks don't happen in OLED. It is the near black that's lifted. So I think that's going to be the discussion. So let's set the stage for the OLED. I don't want to call it an argument, but it's a heated debate right now that the Sony is lifted black. So it's not that the blacks are lifted on the Sony, but rather near black is slightly lifted more so than it should be, whereas LG's near black is nearer to black, if that makes sense. Hey, OLED brightness. Are you talking about it helps you with sleep? Is that the one you're talking about? I did read a couple. One of them was from Michigan, but I forgot which one that was. And a lot of these research articles, it'll take a few years for it to make it to development as well as they negotiate the patents, right? So yeah, tell me the point of the article that you thought was interesting, and we'll talk about it. And so in some ways, LG OLED is a more purist video file image, and Sony OLED has undefeatable noise reduction, undefeatable tone mapping, and undefeatable logo dimming. And so this is where we enter into that discussion. The purist who wants full control over their image and the ability to go complete reference, yes, LG delivers that experience. The consumer who just wants the best image possible without touching a single setting, the Sony is for you. And so for most people, most consumers I know who are willing to pay $4,000, they're paying extra to do less work. So let's talk about that, right? LG, you're paying less, but you're going to have to do the work. Sony is saying, look, money, was it time is money? You don't want to do any work? Buy our TVs, turn it on. No calibrator necessary. It just works. And it's fine. There is no right answer. There's no wrong answer. And like classy. He loves to tweak his TVs, right? He loves it. With the LG OLED, he can to his heart's content. And what did he end up doing? He goes and gets an A80J 77-inch. Go figure, right? So definitely there is no wrong answer. It fits who you are. And that's okay too. But just keep in mind, Sony requires less work to get you to the image you want than LG. But LG will get you there. It just takes a lot of work and will get you even farther, right? So with the LG OLED, you get even closer to that reference image as the creator intended. But we're talking about a 2% difference, maybe even less. That 2% is worthwhile to professionals and people who have a type A personality, right? They know the pride of ownership. My LG is perfectly calibrated. You got it. But for everyone else, I think the Sony hits that sweet spot. And we get to this very real consideration by Mustafa. The G165 for 2200 and the C1 was 100 less. The family settled on the C1 because, and here's the key, my mother didn't like the fact that the G1 should be wall mounted. There you go. That at the end of the day, that's what it ends up being, right? What? You got a wall mount this? Forget it. Get the C1. And if she looks at the two images, she's not going to tell the difference anyway. So she'll yell at you. But you don't have these stands? What's wrong with you? You're paying more for less. Get out of here. So, and that's what I deal with a lot of times as well. It's like my mom be like, oh, why'd you pay more for that? But mom, it's small and it's lighter. No, it's a worse. You're just getting suckered, right? Thank you, Phil, for the question. Do I think that Sony will give the PS5, the VRR, and FreeSync Premium Pro on their TVs as well? And if so, how good will it be? Okay, so PS5, as many of you know, is short of the Series X technologically. And if they don't have VRR working yet, they're not going to get it FreeSync Premium Pro because that means they have to let AMD into the chip to make sure that chip can then go out there and control the TV. That's a lot of work where they coordinate with AMD to do that. I don't know. I honestly don't think they will do that because right now they're not even getting Forum VRR to work. Now, it's possible that it is working and they're just holding it back because they're waiting for the TV division to get their act together because it's two independently run divisions, the TV division and the PlayStation division. So for all we know, VRR is working on the PS5. It's just not out there because the TV hasn't announced it and they want to coordinate that announcement. Now, FreeSync Premium Pro is not easy to do. So if you go on any review sites and start shopping for gaming monitors, the FreeSync Premium Pro monitors are always a little bit more expensive for a reason. And so I don't know if the PS5 is designed to be that kind of a gaming console. The Series X wants to be considered that way. I don't think the PlayStation does. So I would be surprised if Premium Pro is ever added. I'd be surprised if FreeSync Premium is ever added, as a matter of fact, because many people argue that VRR is fine. Just Forum VRR works. The Premium Pro is Premium is supposed to add the lower range anti-stutter technology that's not available in regular FreeSync Premium. But all people saying, well, Sony's just going to lock the frame rates to either 30 or 60, and that takes care of it. And so that may end up making it a moot point, the low frame rate compensation technology that FreeSync Premium offers. Hey, Andy, so you're saying that the Series X and PS5 have basically the same chips. I don't see why I couldn't have VRR. So it's not, it's close, and they're both developed by AMD. The question is, I think Digital Foundry has concluded that the Series X is more capable of just more performance. The question then is it because Sony's too lazy to elevate the performance, or did Sony have a different set of priorities and they had their chips engineered in a certain way, and Series X specifically had their chips engineered in a certain way to bring out those features? For example, Dolby Vision gaming. The PS5, I don't know if it'll ever be capable of Dolby Vision gaming, or the Series X already announced it will support Dolby Vision gaming up to 4K 120 hertz, right? So I don't know. Maybe it is capable, but Sony just doesn't want to put in the effort to do it because all this costs money. All right, so let's jump to our discussion priorities. So we're finished with Samsung. TCL and Hisense. So their priority is giving you the latest hardware technology at the best price. They are able to do this better than Vizio because they have more direct access to vertical integration of their suppliers than Vizio does. So if you notice TCL and Hisense, they don't have any special software, right? Hisense uses Android TV. TCL has elected to use Roku or Android, depending on which TV, and they're done. And their focus is on giving you the best technology. For example, TCL is giving you 8K. It's giving you more dimming zones than Vizio for the dollar, and they're doing it better with local dimming algorithm. Their local dimming algorithm is better than Vizio. Hisense is a brighter TV for the same dollar as Vizio, and its local dimming algorithm is better, and both of them have better motion processing than Vizio. So they're delivering overall that core video technology, the core video experience is better than Vizio, and they package their TVs with better audio than Vizio, because again, they have more direct access to these suppliers, and so they're able to get better margins and put it in their TVs. And for example, Hisense this year, dual cell. No one else is even offering dual cell. Now, dual cell could be offered by Vizio, right? BOE is the manufacturer of the dual cell. They'll sell to anyone. But Vizio's like, that's too much money because then we'll have to process this dual cell, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to look good, and it'll be beyond the reach of many of our consumers. And you see Hisense, its dual cell right now we're expecting it to launch at above $3,000. So Hisense is willing to throw out expensive technology just to see if it'll stick, right? I think Vizio tried that experiment last year with the P Quantum X, which was their most expensive TV, and a lot of issues. It wasn't baked. This year, they're revisiting it. They're pulling back. Nothing high-end, nothing fancy. Their core value is affordable TVs, and they're releasing affordable TVs this year. The high-end stuff, it's just I think they're just regurgitating last year's TVs, if it's even available, right? So I always say best bang for the buck is TCL and Hisense if you're just looking at core hardware execution, but there's nothing else there. Samsung, you have yourself a solar remote. You have integrated sound bars, right? Sony, integrated audio, sound bar, acoustic glass, a very accurate color out of the box. These are little value added conveniences that TCL and Hisense have yet to figure out for the US market. Now, as a reminder, in China, their TVs are significantly more expensive. The TCL Vidrian was launched in China for like over $15,000. It came with a subwoofer. I mean, it was this insane TV, right? So it's not like they can't do it. They just don't know what the US market's taste for their premium brand is, and so they don't want to risk it, right? So that's just something to think about. And Hammer says, Oled will likely have flicker too because the defect is, yes, I agree. I do believe that VR flicker is an OLED panel issue. LG Display, the manufacturer of the OLED, needs to figure this out because it's that low voltage issue that's near black. That's where we're having the flicker issue. Hey, Will Anderson, you're telling me that is my microphone off? Anyone else having a microphone issue? Let me know. And if it's only Will, then maybe, Will, you got to turn on your volume. What specs for Xbox? It's got to be LG. Dolby Vision gaming, my friend. So good question, good boy. Samsung is good for Xbox if you don't care about Dolby Vision gaming. And so what does Dolby Vision bring to the table? Two things. More accurate colors that's graded to that Dolby Vision scale. And it may help reduce some of that color banding that some people complain of. So those are two features of Dolby Vision that you won't get if you go with the Samsung. But if you don't care about that anyway, then the Xbox Series X with Samsung is fine because VRR does work pretty well with the Xbox Series X. But I'd stick with the LG because why not? Especially if you could afford either one. And let's see. Reports 25% of PS5 sold have yet to be used. Does that mean people buy it and leave it in the box? What does that really mean, Preston? Interesting comment. Andy adds, the PS5 has sold a lot more units than the Series X. Reports are that the PS5 sold 10 million units, while the Series X 5.5. And I think historically this has always been the case. PS5 globally has always sold more than Series X. However, this year Series X definitely has made inroads into Japan. They've sold more in Japan than ever, but on a total volume overall, yeah, PS5 will outsell Series X, and I think they'll outsell Series X over the long run. But then Series X is playing the long game. Definitely their whole Xbox Live is their long game, and all they have to do is increase manufacturing production, because we all know that both companies would have sold everything they put out this year. If Series X had 10 million units to sell, they probably would have sold 10 million. The fact is they couldn't produce 10 million units, right? They did not have the manufacturing capacity. But anyone doubt that, right? All right, from Russia. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but I'll read your question. Hey, FOMO, hey, classy. Should I change my X900F 65 inches to 65 or 76-inch X90J? Step up, upgrade, use case 70% gaming, and the rest is movies. So what gaming? Are you gaming on the PS5, or are you gaming on a PC or the Series X, right? The X90J is fine for PS5 for most people, unless VRR is never added, and the PS5 suddenly adds VRR, but I don't think that will be an issue. So gaming on the X90J, you just need to know that if you're 70% gaming, is VRR important to you? And as Classy has observed, and KG as well, games like Sea of Thieves, with their expansion, VRR really helps reduce the tearing. Most games, that's not an issue. So if VRR is important to you, well, X90J doesn't have VRR working yet. And once they do add VRR, how well will it work? So that's something to keep in mind. So if you want a 65-inch gaming TV, you probably would have to either go with a QNED 90 that does have VRR working, or save up and go up to an OLED. But at 75 inches, I'd say wait for the QNED 90 to drop in price. So let us know if VR is important to you. If it's not, then X90J I think is a great option at the 75-inch size, because that would be a true upgrade from the X900F. X900F is a great TV, but the biggest upgrade would be size, I think. So hold off for the size. Great comment, Matt. I did not know this. Sony is pushing their exclusives to PCs as well. That's interesting, but I noticed they're not pushing it to the Series X, right? So they don't feel that crossing over to PCs would be cannibalizing their console sales. But if they pushed it to Series X, obviously people shopping Series X are also shopping PS5. Whereas if your budget for PC gaming is like over $1,000, it's not a PS5 competitor. So that makes sense to me. Let me catch up some of these questions here. Princeton, good question. What are my thoughts about TV warranties? So I've never had to use, actually, I take it back. Hisense, I've had to use a warranty claim. I had a terrible dirty spot, and I put a video up on it about a year and a half ago. And so Hisense, they replaced the TV, got rid of the older one. I definitely used the warranty within the first year. I think TV warranties, whether or not you use it, are definitely important. The first year especially, because it includes labor. It's when you go beyond the first year and it's just parts maybe, or some TVs, depending, you have to read the small print. They may not always include labor in the first year. So labor is oftentimes was too expensive. I mean, they might replace the part, but then how much is the labor? So for me, if it's a questionable brand where I know the brand has a reputation for breaking down after the first year, I would definitely get an extended warranty, because the TV warranty itself, beyond the first year, if it needs replacement, let's say the LG G1, where it has a 5-year warranty on parts, if it has burn-in, well, at least they'll replace the OLED with the burn-in and within the 5 years, and you just pay for the labor. Let me know what your all experience is with the labor prices out there. Is it prohibitive? Does it end up not making sense and you end up buying a new TV? So, but that one time I did use that warranty, it ended up making a difference because I got a new TV out of it. And this was before they knew I had a channel and review of the Hisense H9 F. That was the model. So, yeah, I thought it was good that they replaced the TV. Any of you have to replace your TV under warranty, and what was your experience like? Good question, Hammer. Shouldn't the original stock 2020 Denon AVR see a price drop since they're now being modded with an HDMI 2.1 fix? They should, but they won't because they're being sold out like crazy. So whether it's a 2020 model, even a 2019 model, every AVR from Denon is selling out of inventory. So I don't think they need a price drop. They'll probably sell out all inventory and they'll just go straight to 2021. They cannot keep any of their AVRs in stock. And that often determines whether or not they get discounted more than anything. Now, what about less dimming zones in the X90J, 32 over the X900F? So this is where processing makes more of a difference when you go that many years in between, right? Between 3 or 4 years, Sony has significantly improved this local dimming processing where the difference between 32 and 48 is no longer important. It's all about the local dimming zone. So I think the X90J with only 32 but better processing makes a huge difference over the X900F with more dimming zones. So in this case, it's the X90J for better local dimming control because better processing. They've learned a lot in the last 4 years or so. I love this thought experiment here, Bad Tech. Pass the remote, FOMO. If Samsung was, unlikely as it is, to start supporting Dolby Vision, how much of a shakeup do you think that would have? Do you know how many people would buy a Samsung instead of an LG for gaming if it had Dolby Vision? That has been or even Sony, right? This has been the number one reason I'm hearing, oh, I love that Samsung Q90 is so great, da 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 da. But you know what? I'll just get an X95J because I love Dolby Vision. Or, oh, it's great that Samsung Q98 has all of this and its VRR works so well, but I'll go with LG because it supports Dolby Vision and Dolby Vision gaming. So if Samsung was to support Dolby Vision in all of its formats, right, both HDR and gaming, Samsung would easily take a few percentage points off of LG and Sony. And this is what kills me. Samsung, don't you see that you have a lost business opportunity here? It's not like it's minor. The Dolby Vision discussion is a huge discussion. Forget that their argument is technically they don't need Dolby Vision because they do a great job of tone mapping. Let's say you're right. What does it matter if you're right or wrong? Consumers are looking at Dolby Vision as a checkbox, and you, Samsung, know better than anybody else. It just takes enough checkboxes to close the sale. So you got to close that sale. It shocks me that their pride gets in the way of their desire for profits. Very shocking to me. Oh, Canadians, guess what? In Ontario, Canada, Best Buy just posted X95J in stock yesterday. And Constantine ordered a 75-inch, $4,000 Canadian dollars X95J, expected August 12th delivery. Wow, that's like next week. Let us know how that is, Constantine. You may be the first to tell us about it because we're not hearing that early delivery in the USA yet. That's awesome. Congratulations. So it's out there. It is being delivered and bought in North America. And RL chimes in. I wouldn't go X90J if you already have an X900F. I don't think it'll be much of an upgrade depending on utility. It might be a downgrade. And that's exactly what I said is if it's the same size, don't upgrade. If it's a larger size, upgrade because you're getting a larger size. And I think he was considering 75-inch. And I told him that it's a 75-inch that you're upgrading to, especially if you're in a brighter room. The differences are minor. In a dark room, the X90J may be noticeably different if you watch scenes where there's some deep, dark areas. The blacks in the X90J will be deeper, but overall in a brighter room, there's not going to be much of a difference. The 75-inch, that size upgrade, that's what we're talking about. And I feel the pressure. Thank you for this comment, Matt. Doing a great job solo, no pressure. Yeah. Unfortunately, Brandon has a whole bunch of football playoffs. And I told him, look, if you show up, great. If not, hey, got to show up for the people, got to show up for the kids, right? People got questions, and you want to make sure it's a thing. You guys get your TV questions out there because you have sales like the X90J. Suddenly it's 1,800, or what was the price? Let's go back up real quick. For those that missed it, it was, there we go. Look at that. Look at that. Just real quick, I thought it was impressive that the 65-inch X90J is now 1,300, and it probably reflects, and we all talked about this, once the X95J starts launching, the X90J finally falls to its correct price. And this ends up being the correct, or closer to the correct price at 1,300, and the 75-inch size also has dropped to under 2,000. It's like 1,800, 1,850, right? So now is the time to consider the X90J because the price is closer to where it should be. Now, I think it should be closer to 1,000, but hey, this is close enough, right? This price drop is where it should have started. But the X95J wasn't out yet. It's out now. Now it's dropping. So if you guys are on the fence because of price, now Black Friday, though, it should maybe drop another 150, maybe another 200. It should be closer to 1,000 on Black Friday, just like last year. Remember, last year, the X900H 65-inch was $995, right? Just under 1,000. Right now, the X900H is like 1,400. It's ridiculous. It never saw that price drop again. So sometimes Black Friday may end up being the best price you'll see all year long. So it may happen again with X90J. If you get a good price on the X90J Black Friday, pull the trigger. It may not hit that price again. X900H is a perfect example. And the X900H is clearly inferior to the X90J, and yet currently more expensive. I don't get it. Great question, Preston. Any comments on the new firmware for the U8G? You know, I have to look into that. No, I've been setting up the U7G. So, if you guys don't know, the U7G is in the studio. I'm setting it up. Once I start the comparison, I will update all the firmware, make sure they're all current, read up all the notes on the U8G, go on all the forums, find out what the upgrades are, and then we'll see. Now, here's a good thing. The U8G and the U7G, neither of them are calibrated, right? They're both out of the box. Now, I do have the A90J as a reference for color to compare them to, so we'll see how that goes. And I'll have the U6G as well. So you'll have the U8G, U7G, and U6G, all three, and you could get an idea of what's the upgrade, right? What are you paying more going from the U6 to the U7 to the U8? Now, ultimately, the U8 is Hisense's best TV this year for the price. Yes, they have the dual cell. Yes, they have the 8K, but I think those are premium experiments. You're really looking at the U8G. And I found it to be so close to the QN90A in many content. We're not talking gaming, right? Just content watching that. To me, the U8G is definitely the poor man's QN90A. It is a very good HDR movie experience. Wonderful question, Amanda. For the average person, would you recommend getting the C1 calibrated? For the average person, no. Only because the C1 is close enough. Now, here's my ultimate test is I like the Greatest Showman a lot because they have a lot of close-ups of the face. And the way the Greatest Showman was graded, they made it a little warm, right? Very romantic, very warm. If a TV is off a little bit or off enough, right? When you watch The Greatest Showman, faces will be a little wrong. I mean, you'll notice, wait a minute, his face doesn't look pleasant at all. That's when you get it calibrated because The Greatest Showman is supposed to be pleasant looking. They wanted to make sure that all TVs looked good. So on the C1, if the faces don't look good, okay, there's a problem there, right? And it may happen. Calibration is definitely a panel-to-panel variance as well. Some come out of the box great, some not so great. So not everyone will need to get the C1 calibrated. Some may, and you're going to have to put real content on. Definitely put content you're used to watching, even if it's Netflix, right? You're watching a show over and over. You'll be sensitive to the faces the most. Look at content with a lot of close-ups of the faces. Then you'll know, oh man, that's not natural at all. So yes. That's a great way to look at it. But generally, I don't think you'll need to get the C1 calibrated. And I agree, Don. Good observation. The Sony 65-inch X90J, 1,300 price is only 100 more than the 55-inch X90J, and only 200 more than the 50-inch X90J. Don, remember last year the X900H during Black Friday dropped to 1,000, but the 55-inch never dropped. The X900H 55-inch was 950. Like, really? The 55-inch X900H on Black Friday was like 925, 950. And the X900H was like 995. It was like a $50 difference. It's like, what? And so they're doing it again, right? So as you can see, Sony must have more stock of 65-inch than anything else out there. And 65-inch, and that's why I chose it for my sweet spot. The 65-inch size is a sweet spot for value, for sure. Yeah, but yeah, good point. And it's happening again. Okay, here we go. And what are we talking about? There's a lot of TVs I haven't reviewed, and so yes, IRL. A lot of my opinions on TVs that I haven't seen personally are definitely from either Classy's reviews, where I sit and talk with Classy at length, or with Brandon, specifically QNET 9099. I have not seen the TCL 8K in person, so I definitely am basing that on Caleb's review. And the U7 I have now, so I'll show you my findings on the U7G. I've definitely seen I have the A90J, the Q90A, and the U8G, and one day we'll have the X95J. I'm skipping the X90J this year and going with the X95J. Gotcha. I will check that again and try to remember that after this after this stream. After this, I have to run and catch my daughter's dance recital. So I'll probably do it tomorrow morning. Okay, and I think we are, let's see. If you guys have any questions, let me know. We're running into the 90-minute mark, so I'm going to wrap it up at the 90-minute mark. So any questions, any comments you want from me, we'll run for another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to wish you all a happy weekend. And yeah, I think this year is a great year for TVs, honestly. With Sony doing what it's doing with all their TVs, the XR chip making a huge difference. And even the TVs without it, Sony has always been good with color, but the fact that they're putting effort into all their TVs being near color accurate. The X80J wasn't perfect, but it was so close that all I had to do was change the tint a little bit, and it was very close to the A90J. But I could not do the same with either the U6G or the Q60A. So Sony, a lot of kudos for them for making all their TVs from the bottom to the top fairly accurate out of the box. And another question, thank you, from Russia. FOMO, if you need to choose after the X900F, motion picture quality, upgrade to either the C165-inch or 75-inch X90J, worrying about burn-in, and you love the picture quality and Sony's motion. Okay. This is a hard one, only because you're a gamer, and the 65-inch C1, I believe, gives you more of what you will use. Now, if you didn't game at all and you said to me you just watch content in a brighter room, the larger X90J, you're probably going to end up enjoying more with your family overall. But 70% gaming, the C165 will allow you to game satisfyingly on more sources: PC gaming, Series X gaming, and PS5 gaming. So I would go with a 65-inch C1 given your use case, especially if you turn down the lights even a little bit. That C165, you will never go to any other technology. That OLED will make such a huge impression on you. But if your room is brighter, you're watching in a bright room, and you never turn off the lights, then the 75-inch X90J will be great. But it's not a gaming TV. So if the 70% gaming is what has me concerned, and we don't know if the X90J will ever get VRR that works. It will get VRR. The debate now is, will it be crappy VRR or good VRR? And that's something you all have to be reminded. I am not questioning the fact that Sony's going to put out VRR. It's out there. Can they make it look good? And that's something that VRR fans have to think about. I am too, Corey. As soon as I get that, I hope to have my home theater set up so I could do a head-to-head comparison. How close do these 4 speakers with the TV, and the TV I'm using will be the 83-inch A90J, but I'll also have the smaller 65-inch. So we'll see how well the A9 integrates both of those TVs. It'll be fun, for sure, to review the HT A9. Hey, welcome, Germany. Ubery CH09 has a question. I need a new TV. It has to be an OLED. I agree. It has to be an OLED. I'm considering the 65-inch C10 or C1. Price difference is about 500 pounds or 500 euros. Is it worth paying more? Should I get the 65-inch A80J? Okay. If you are not a gamer, you watch mostly streaming, you watch movies, get the A80J because things will look great out of the box. If you're a gamer, then the C10 and the C1 are better choices. Between the C1 and the C10, if you are a normal consumer and you don't plan to do anything special with your TV, you're not waiting for the latest and greatest in gaming features, the C10 is fine. I think the C10 is actually a great TV. I had the 55-inch C10, save the money, use that 500 pounds to get yourself an affordable sound bar, and it will be an amazing experience. But if you're very serious about your movies, you want that pop in HDR, the A80J gets you that little bit more pop. The question is it worth paying more? From the 65-inch C10 to the 65-inch A80J, if you've never had an OLED before, I don't think so, because the C10 65-inch is so amazing for a person coming out of an OLED. I would get a 65-inch C10 if budget is important, right? And you want to stay within budget. But if you have the budget to go with an A80J and it doesn't hurt you, I'd go with the A80J. But definitely, if every euro is important, get the 65-inch C10 and you'll enjoy it. You probably won't even see the difference until you have both side by side. So, but 500 pounds is a lot. 65-inch C10, or 500 euros is a lot. 65-inch C10 would be my choice for you. So clarity here. Yes, it's PS5 gaming in a dark room. So burn-in with solo playing is not an issue. What about selling OLED after 4 or 5 years usage? Okay. The answer is I don't think burn-in is going to be an issue for you at all. And even if you play 6, 7, 8 hours, right? You're going to game, you're going to watch some TV. Just make sure you are conscientious cycling through content, because if you have a persistent image, a head-up display, it is a small risk. But the modern OLED TV from LG is very good at reducing burn-in risk. I don't think it's an issue, but there's always a risk. That's why they call it a risk. Now, selling a TV after 4 or 5 years, not good. Consider giving it away. I have never seen anyone successfully sell a TV after 4 or 5 years, because in 4 or 5 years, OLED TVs will be very inexpensive. It'll be hard for you to argue that your OLED is worth a lot in 4 or 5 years. So in 4 or 5 years, it's a gift to a family friend. Think of it that way. Don't think of recouping anything in 4 or 5 years. And not because the OLED will be crappy in 4 or 5 years. It's just OLED will be a lot less expensive than what you're paying now. A 60 hertz LG entry-level OLED in 4 or 5 years, that's what you're competing against. And I don't think you're going to sell more than that. And we have a prediction from Classy. Prices for the 77-inch A80J bottoming at $3,200 this year and then $3,000 next year. I think so, Classy. I think the A80J is so popular, it doesn't have to reduce the price much to get it moving. Okay, well, I think we are done today. Great questions, everyone. Thank you for coming, and we will see you next time. Either I'll have a live stream running on my channel, or Classy will have one running his channel. We always have a live stream somewhere. I might be on his, he might be on mine. Thank you for coming, and have a great weekend. Until next time, pass the remote. And if you missed your questions now, please come back to the next stream. ask it. I try to catch all the questions. Oh wait, there's I think there's one more super chat that I missed. Oh, it's a super sticker. Thank you, Brad. And with that, pass the remote, everyone.